Hi, I'm Marcus, 30, and 3 months ago, I watched my entire family turn on me, because my little sister stood up at Thanksgiving and claimed our parents were giving her the $3.7 million house and I was getting nothing. Everyone applauded. I just smiled, turned to Dad, and said, "Should I tell them or will you?" Angela's face went sheet white. "But to understand how we got there, how we had to get there, I need to take you back 6 months. It started with a manila folder and 3 words that changed everything. I have Alzheimer's. I was in the middle of fixing a database crash at work when my phone buzzed. Dad's cell flashed across the screen. My stomach dropped. He never called me during work hours. Never. "Christy, we need to talk," he said. "Tomorrow morning. Just you and me." The way he said it, like he was holding something fragile in his voice, terrified me more than if he'd said someone died. We met at a quiet booth at Miller's Coffee House on 8th Street the next day. He looked smaller than I remembered. His coffee sat untouched. Then he told me, early-stage Alzheimer's. 3 weeks ago, confirmed after months of testing. "I'm still clear-headed," he said, "but I don't know how long I have." I didn't cry, not right away. I just stared at the man who taught me to ride a bike, to shave, to stand up for what mattered, and tried to process that his mind, the sharpest mind I knew, was starting to slip. And then he said something I didn't expect. "I think Angela's trying to steal everything from us." At first, I thought he was paranoid. He just dropped an Alzheimer's bomb. Of course his thoughts were chaotic. But then he pulled out the folder. Inside, months of bank records, handwritten notes, copies of texts, conversations logged with dates and times. My sister had been visiting weekly, offering help. Groceries. Appointments. Playing the perfect daughter. And in return, Mom, terrified of being a burden, was being guilted into giving her the house. Not the house, the asset. 2 acres of land, recently rezoned commercial. Worth $3.7 million, though no one else in the family knew that yet. Small amounts of money missing at first, Dad explained. Now, $78,000. Gone. Withdrawals just under $10,000 each to avoid bank reporting. Angela had her fingerprints all over it. We couldn't prove she was orchestrating everything yet, but we had a trail. And Dad wanted me, his oldest, to step in. Legally. "I had the papers drawn up," he said. "I want you to be co-trustee of the family trust. With me. That way Angela can't pressure your mother into anything without our approval." My fork paused halfway to my mouth at that Thanksgiving table because 6 months earlier, I made a promise. I promised my father I'd protect what he built. And the storm was just getting started. Thanksgiving Day. Angela breezed through the front door like she owned the air we breathed. Designer coat, perfectly blown out hair, arms full of casseroles and clout. She kissed Mom on the cheek, hugged Dad, and looked right past me. "Christy, you're actually here for once," she said, loading her voice with sugary venom. What a surprise. I'd driven 3 hours, brought Mom's favorite bakery pies, and even raked half the backyard while everyone else was still sleeping. Didn't matter. Angela had already scripted her version of the story, the absent son and the devoted daughter. And the audience? They'd already bought front row seats. Cousins high-fived her. Aunt Martha beamed like someone just handed her a grandchild. Uncle Dennis poured the wine. I just sat at the table, across from Dad, who looked like he was either going to vomit or flip it. Angela waited until the turkey was carved, the mashed potatoes passed, and the cranberry sauce mostly congealed before standing up. Wine glass raised, stage lighting courtesy of the chandelier. "I have an announcement," she said, practically vibrating. "Mom and Dad are signing the family house over to me next week." Gasps. Cheers. Applause. "Christy gets nothing," she added, laughing like it was a roast and not a declaration of war. I smiled. Fork in midair, calm as a Buddhist monk in a thunderstorm. "Should I tell them?" I said. "Or will you?" Dad's fork clattered onto his plate. Angela's smile flickered. "Tell them what?" she snapped, voice climbing half an octave. Mom was silent. Everyone else was looking at me like I'd farted in church. "I never agreed to sign the house over to you," Dad said quietly. Angela froze. What? She said louder this time. Mom, tell them. Mom looked down at her plate like she wanted to crawl into the stuffing and disappear. I wrote Angela a letter, years ago, after my knee surgery. I was on pain medication. She was helping me so much, and I told her. Dad cut in. Helen, I never saw that letter. Angela fumbled in her purse and pulled out a folded piece of floral stationery like she'd been waiting to deliver a prophecy. Here. Here's the proof. She promised me the house in writing. I leaned over to see it. Shaky handwriting. Dated 3 years ago. I turned to Dad. When was Mom's knee surgery? August, he said. She was on Oxy for 2 weeks. Barely remembered anything from that time. Angela's face flushed. So what? A promise is a promise. You can't just swoop in after years of absence and take what's mine. Uncle Dennis stood up, his loyalty immediately activated. Christy, this is low. Your sister's been doing the real work. You live 3 hours away. What right do you have to interfere? Then Cousin Rachel chimed in. Then Mark. Then Aunt Martha, declaring I'd always been the selfish one. Angela watched with satisfaction, bathing in validation, like it was a spa day. But I stayed quiet. Because that was only Act 1. There's more you all need to know, I said. But not here. Angela slammed her palm on the table. No. Say it. Now. Say whatever lies you've been cooking up. Dad's voice, gravel and steel, cut through the noise. Enough. But Angela was just getting warmed up. After the guests left, after Mom awkwardly offered pie no one accepted, after Aunt Martha gave me a look that could strip paint, Angela cornered me in the kitchen. You're playing a dangerous game, she hissed. I don't play games, I said. But you seem to like gambling with other people's futures. She stepped closer, eyes hard. I have a lawyer. Retainers paid. I've documented everything I've done for them. Groceries. Doctor visits. Yard work. Every favor. I have proof. You mean receipts for groceries you never bought? I asked, tilting my head. Repairs that never happened? She blinked. I smiled. I have truth, I said. You have a fantasy where you rob our parents blind and still play the hero. I've already measured for renovations. She spat. Brianna's picked her bedroom. This is happening. Whether you like it or not. She stormed out, leaving me in the kitchen with half a pie and a full sense of dread. I turned on the faucet to rinse a plate, and saw Mom, standing in the doorway, mascara streaked and shaking. Christy, she said, I need to tell you something. I turned off the water. I'm listening. She looked so small. Angela's been showing me articles about nursing homes. How expensive care is. How kids have to give up everything. She says I'm becoming a burden. That I'll ruin both your lives if I don't plan ahead. I stepped forward, gently took her hand. You're not a burden. She says I am? Mom whispered. She said if I promised her the house, I wouldn't have to worry about anything. She'd take care of everything. I wouldn't be a burden anymore. She manipulated you, Mom. She used your love against you. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Christy, I was scared. And I should have told you sooner. But I'm telling you now. That night I texted Dad, Mom talked. We need to act fast. He replied instantly, breakfast tomorrow. Just us. Plan everything. Angela thought she'd won. She had no idea the storm was about to hit. Friday morning, 8:57 a.m. I parked in front of Miller's Coffee House, same corner booth, same black coffee waiting for Dad. Only this time, he didn't look like a man clinging to composure. He looked like a man loading ammo. Your mother told me everything, he said, no preamble. All of it. The pressure, the threats, the guilt trips, the way Angela makes her feel small. She weaponized Mom's love, I said. Dad nodded slowly. So, what now? We get evidence. We stop her before she does real damage. He pulled out his phone. I already called Mr. Patterson. 10 o'clock. By 10:05, we were sitting in the leather-drenched conference room of Mr. Patterson's office. Legal pads, coffee, folders already waiting. The man did not mess around. Gentlemen, he said, adjusting his glasses. I'm glad you came in. Because I have information I think you need to hear. He opened a folder. Your daughter Angela has been here. Twice. In the past 3 months. Dad sat up straight. What? She asked me how to dissolve a trust. What happens if a co-trustee is deemed incompetent? What her legal options were if a trustee was acting against the family's interests. Very pointed questions. She was looking for loopholes, I said. Exactly. I told her nothing of substance, of course. My obligation is to you, Mr. Morrison, but I documented the conversations. Then Dad opened his folder, the one he'd shown me months ago. Receipts, bank statements, withdrawal records. What about the missing money? He asked. The $78,000? That's where it gets interesting, Mr. Patterson replied, pulling out a second folder. I subpoenaed your bank records after our last meeting. Your wife, under Angela's supervision, has been making structured cash withdrawals. Always just under $10,000. To avoid triggering reporting requirements. I said. Correct. That's a tactic used to avoid federal scrutiny. Whoever advised your wife on this knew exactly what they were doing. The air in the room shifted. It was no longer paranoia. No longer suspicion. This was real. Where's the money going? Dad asked. Mr. Patterson slid over another document. A joint account at First National Bank. Titled Home Care Fund for Parents. Your wife and Angela are listed as co-owners. But according to the statements, Angela is the only one making withdrawals. She's been stealing, Dad said, voice low. She's been laundering, I said. Making it look like caregiving while funneling money. Mr. Patterson nodded. I suggest we hire a private investigator. Someone who can track where the money's going and gather evidence that holds up in court. Do it, Dad said instantly. Whatever it costs. By 4 p.m. that afternoon, we were shaking hands with Jennifer Walsh, a former detective turned financial crimes PI. No nonsense. Tight gray bun. Cold blue eyes. Give me 72 hours, she said. I'll know where every penny went. And she did. 3 days later, we sat in her office, watching her lay out glossy photo after glossy photo like she was dealing blackjack at a mob table. Your sister purchased a Range Rover. 3 weeks ago. $65,000 in cash. Here she is signing the paperwork. Dad made a choking sound in his throat. Here she is again. Jennifer continued. At a designer boutique. Over $18,000 in luxury clothes in the last 6 months. Spa visits. 5-star resorts. First-class flights to Hawaii. 7 days. 12 grand. All documented. That's our retirement, Dad said softly. That's the money we saved for 40 years. It gets worse, Jennifer said grimly. She handed over a folder. Receipts Angela submitted to your wife. For prescriptions, groceries, home repairs. All fake. Created using graphic design software. Metadata confirms they were generated on Angela's home computer. I flipped through the evidence. A receipt for $843 from Morton's Hardware. Itemized. Thermal print. Completely fabricated. She forged everything, I said. And there's one more thing, Jennifer added, pulling up her laptop. This document here, purchase agreement. Angela signed a contract to sell the family home to Broddock Development. Dad leaned in, eyes scanning the screen. She can't sell the house. She doesn't own it. She claims power of attorney for both of you. And here, this is supposed to be your signature. Dad's mouth opened then closed again. It was his signature. Except it wasn't. A forgery. Not perfect, but good enough to fool someone skimming paperwork. She forged my name 3 times. He whispered. The sale is scheduled for 6 days after she thinks the trust will transfer ownership to her, Jennifer said. She's planning to take the money and run. I stared at the screen. There it was. The truth behind every casserole, every grocery run, every shoulder rub. Angela wasn't caring for our parents. She was staging a heist. And Mom and Dad? I asked. What was she planning to do with them after she cashed out? Jennifer's expression darkened. Based on her browser history? Dump them in the cheapest state-funded nursing home she could find. She's been researching facilities with abuse complaints. And she's also been looking into how to have someone declared legally incompetent. Dad put his head in his hands. She was going to steal everything, he whispered, and then get us locked away. So we couldn't stop her. Jennifer placed 3 boxes of evidence on the table: photos, documents, metadata, statements. We could go to the police right now, I said. No, Dad said, lifting his head. His voice was ice. I want her to see it first. I want her to understand what she did, what she destroyed. Then we go to the cops. I hesitated. If she sees it, she might run. She won't. She thinks she's already won. He looked at me with an expression I'd never seen. Not fury. Not sadness. Something colder. Set the meeting. Tell her we're ready to transfer the trust. Invite everyone who cheered at Thanksgiving. You want witnesses. I want her to perform. And then I want to bring the curtain down. Angela picked up on the first ring. Dad and I talked. I said, You're right. You've been here. You've done the work. I've been absent. If Mom really wants you to have the house, then that's what should happen. I could hear her inhale, sharp and victorious. You're serious? Dead serious. Dad wants to do the trust signing next Thursday. Mr. Patterson's office. 2 p.m. Whole family's invited. Oh, she said, sugary sweet. Christy, I'm so glad you're being reasonable about this. It's what's best for everyone. You'll see. Oh, I would see. Angela had no idea she just RSVP'd to her own execution. The next 6 days blurred. Dad and I spent hours at Mr. Patterson's office, strategizing every angle, predicting every lie, rehearsing every possible version of Angela's meltdown. Jennifer Walsh finalized her report: forged receipts, browser history, forged power of attorney documents, spending breakdowns. We had it all, labeled and cross-referenced, a tactical nuke disguised as a manila folder. Sunday night I sat down with Mom. We talked for 2 hours. I need you to know what's going to happen, I said gently. It's going to be a shock for everyone in that room. But the truth has to come out. I expected hesitation. Instead, she listened quietly, nodding slowly, until I reached the part about Angela's forged documents and the fake bank account. I knew something was wrong, she said softly. Deep down. I just didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe my own daughter was capable of that. Mom. She stopped me with a hand on mine. I wrote that letter. I signed those withdrawal slips. But Angela, she made me believe I had to. That if I didn't, I'd ruin everything. I was scared, Christy. You were manipulated. You were vulnerable. That's not your fault. She wiped her eyes. What happens Thursday? Justice, I said. Angela thinks she's collecting her prize. Instead, she's going to face the truth. Will she go to jail? The question just hung there. Would I really do that to my sister? Would I really send her to prison? Then I remembered the Range Rover, the fake receipts, the forged signature, the nursing home research. Yes, I said. Mom nodded. Good. Because what she was planning to do to us, that's not my daughter. I don't know who that is. Monday morning, Dad got a call from his doctor. The Alzheimer's was progressing. Not fast, but steady. 3 to 5 years of clarity left. Maybe less. Then we handle this now, he said, while I can still stand in a courtroom and make sure your mother is protected. That afternoon, I met with the detective Jennifer had recommended. Sarah Chin. Financial Crimes Unit. Built like a sprinter, eyes like razors. I laid out everything. All 3 evidence boxes. She reviewed it like someone reviewing a textbook on pain. Elder financial abuse, she said. Fraud. Forgery. Identity theft. Potential conspiracy, depending on who else was involved. What's she looking at, if the DA goes all in? 15 to 25 years, she said. The court tends to be unkind to people who steal from the elderly. Especially family. 15 to 25, I repeated. Angela would be in her 50s when she got out. If the DA pushes hard, they'll want to make an example of her. Elder abuse is a growing epidemic. That night, I went through old photo albums. Angela and I as kids. Birthday parties, holidays, stupid matching pajamas. I tried to find the version of her that wasn't a thief, a liar, a fraud. But all I saw was someone who chose to become those things. Not someone broken. Someone ambitious. Tuesday, Angela texted me. Thanks again for being reasonable. I know this hasn't been easy, but you'll see, this is what's best for Mom and Dad. I'll take good care of them. I didn't respond. Wednesday, I drove to the house. Our house. The place where I took my first steps. Where I got my acceptance letter to college. Where Angela and I had our last, real, conversation, 10 years ago, sitting on the porch, talking about what we'd do when Mom and Dad got old. She said, I'll take care of them. Don't worry. I didn't know that 10 years later, that promise would become her currency for manipulation. That she'd twist, taking care, into ownership, into entitlement. That she'd weaponize their fear of aging and their love for her into a blueprint for theft. I sat in my car and watched the sunset across the backyard. The old maple tree swaying in the breeze. The porch light flicking on automatically. Then my phone buzzed. Dad. Christy, he said. I just want you to know, no matter what happens tomorrow, I'm proud of you. You came home. You protected us. I learned from you. I said. There was a long pause. Then, very softly, I just wish it hadn't come to this. Me too. But son, he said, some choices can't be forgiven. Angela made hers. Thursday morning arrived cold and still. I put on a suit. Mr. Patterson insisted we treat the meeting like a legal proceeding. It'll feel more real. More formal. That matters. I picked up Dad at 11. Mom stayed home. She couldn't bear to watch it happen. Not in person. You ready? I asked as Dad climbed into the passenger seat. No, he said. But we're doing it anyway. Mr. Patterson's office had been rearranged to look like a courtroom. Long table at the front. Rows of chairs behind. Podium. Screen for the presentation. Full theater setup. Angela arrived first. Wearing a cream-colored suit and $1,000 shoes. Hair blown out, earrings sparkling, expression smug. She worked the room like a wedding planner. Hugged Aunt Martha. Smiled at Uncle Dennis. Kissed Cousin Rachel on both cheeks. Brianna followed behind her, in a navy dress that looked borrowed. 17 years old. Eyes full of questions. Then the rest of the guests, Dennis, Martha, Rachel, Mark, Aunt Susan, Uncle Tom, everyone who'd raised a glass to Angela 2 weeks ago. 15 people. Witnesses. Angela caught my eye and smiled. This is going to be wonderful, she said to Aunt Martha, loud enough for me to hear. I've already started planning the renovations. I didn't say a word. I stood at the back of the room with Dad, waiting. At exactly 2 o'clock, Mr. Patterson stepped up to the podium. Thank you all for coming, he began. We're here today to discuss the family trust and the future of the family property. However, before we proceed with the signing, there are a few matters that require attention. Angela frowned. Can we just get to the paperwork? She said, all fake cheer. I'm sure you'd like that, Mr. Patterson replied, adjusting his glasses. But first, let's talk about value. He clicked a remote. The screen behind him lit up, zoning maps, assessment documents, property records. The family home sits on 2 acres of land. Due to recent rezoning, its value is no longer $500,000 as previously assumed. The current appraised value is $7 million. The room gasped. Angela's smile twitched. Well, she said, laughing awkwardly. That's wonderful news. I had no idea. But don't worry, I'll make sure Mom and Dad are well taken care of. I stepped forward. Will you? I said. Because it seems like you already made other plans. Angela blinked. What's that supposed to mean? It means, I said, turning to the crowd, that we know about your deal with product development. I pulled out a folder and handed it to Mr. Patterson, who clicked again. And the room saw it. Angela's contract to sell the house. her forged signatures, her fake power of attorney, her closing date, set for 6 days after today. Angela turned white as paper. I can explain, she said. Oh, I hope you do, I said. Angela stood frozen, her cream-colored suit suddenly a size too small. Her mouth opened, then closed. Twice. I was just exploring options, she stammered. For Mom and Dad. In case they ever wanted to sell. Exploring options? I repeated. By forging Dad's signature and claiming power of attorney you don't have? Mr. Patterson clicked again. The screen split. On one side, the forged power of attorney. On the other, Dad's real signature. Even to the untrained eye, it was obvious. Different slope, different pressure, different loops. Angela's voice sharpened. This is all fake. Christie's trying to sabotage me. He's always been jealous. Jealous of what? I asked. Your Range Rover? Your week in Hawaii? Your fake receipts and stolen money? The room erupted. Gasps, whispers, shifting chairs. Uncle Dennis stood up. Angela, what is he talking about? Angela's gaze darted, trying to find a foothold, a crack, someone, anyone, to believe her. I've been taking care of them, she cried. Everything I did was for them. Grocery runs, prescriptions, repairs. You mean these? I asked, lifting a folder and passing it to Mr. Patterson. He displayed them, dozens of thermoprinted receipts. Perfectly itemized. But fake. Jennifer Walsh stood and stepped to the front. She was dressed simply, gray blazer, no nonsense. I'm a licensed private investigator, she said. I contacted every business listed on these receipts. Not one of them had a record of any transaction with Angela Morrison. Additionally, metadata on these files indicates they were created on a device registered to Angela's home network using standard graphic design software. Silence. You faked receipts? Aunt Martha whispered. No, that's... Angela's voice caught. That's not true. It is true, I said. And we're just getting started. I nodded to Jennifer. She tapped her laptop. A news slide appeared, a timeline of Angela's spending. Range Rover, $65,000 in cash. Designer clothes, $18,000. Spa treatments. First-class flights. 7 days at a 5-star resort in Hawaii. Another $12,000. Angela looked around desperately. Everyone's twisting this, she said. I had to look nice. I'm a real estate agent. Appearances matter. So do ethics, Mr. Patterson said. Then came the final blow. Jennifer switched to browser history screenshots. Angela's computer, nursing home searches. Low-rated, state-funded, under investigation. Articles about declaring relatives mentally incompetent. Loopholes. Power of attorney guides. She wasn't planning to care for Mom and Dad, I said, voice steady. She was planning to dump them in a facility and disappear with the money. No! Angela screamed. That's not true. Dad, tell them. Dad stood up. He looked directly at her. His voice didn't shake. Angela, you forged my name. You stole from us. You lied to your mother. You convinced her she was a burden. And now I see you for who you are. She took a step back. Dad, I'm your daughter. You were. Her knees buckled slightly. Then Brianna stood. Mom? Her voice cracked. Angela reached for her. Bree, baby, they're lying. Brianna stepped away. You told me they wanted you to have the house, she said, crying. You said it was already arranged. You made me help you measure for renovations. You said I'd inherit it someday. Angela's face crumpled. Brianna, please. But the door opened. Detective Sarah Chin walked in, flanked by a uniformed officer. Angela Morrison, she said, voice calm and authoritative. You are under arrest for elder financial abuse, fraud, forgery, and identity theft. Angela turned toward me, eyes wide. No. No. This is insane. He set me up. He framed me. Detective Chin continued. You have the right to remain silent. Angela bolted. She actually ran, shoving past Aunt Susan, knocking over a chair. But the officer was faster. 2 steps, then she was pinned. Cuffed. Angela twisted around as they pulled her upright. Her voice cracked and shrieked. "This isn't over. You'll see. Christy set this up. He wants the money for himself." Her screams echoed as they dragged her from the room. Then silence. Brianna sobbed openly in Aunt Martha's arms. Uncle Dennis sat down hard, pale and stunned. Mom wasn't even there, but the weight of her absence somehow made the moment heavier. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat. "I think we should adjourn for today." No one objected. The meeting dissolved. One by one, people filed out, shell-shocked, stunned, whispering. Outside, I stood with Dad next to his truck. "She was going to ruin us," he said softly. "Ruin your mother. Lock us away. And pretend she was the hero." "But she didn't," I said. "Because you called me." He nodded, then looked down at the pavement. "I loved her, Christy." "I know. I changed her diapers. Took her to school. I used to sing her to sleep. I just..." He trailed off. "You didn't lose that girl, Dad. She left you. A long time ago." He looked up. "You think she'll go to prison?" "Yeah," I said. "I do." That night, my phone rang 5 times. First Aunt Martha. Then Uncle Dennis. Then Rachel. Then Mark. Each call came with apologies. "I had no idea. I was wrong about you. I thought she was the good one. I'm so sorry, Christy." I accepted them all. Politely. But part of me burned. Where were they when Angela made Mom cry? When Dad lost sleep wondering if he was crazy? Where were they when I was the selfish son, just because I didn't live down the block? No one had my back. But that's okay. Because the truth had my back. And soon the court would too. Angela sat motionless as the judge read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. No gasps. No tears. Just silence. The kind that settles over a room when something breaks so completely, no one knows if it can ever be fixed. I watched her flinch as the sentence followed. 18 years. Restitution. No contact with our parents again. Ever. She didn't look at Mom. Didn't look at Dad. She looked at me. And there it was, no remorse. No regret. Just pure, undiluted hatred. She truly believed I destroyed her. She never understood. She was the storm. I was just the dam that finally held. 3 months later, Mom and Dad sold the house to a real developer, not the one Angela had schemed with. $3. 7 million wired directly into their account. The first thing they did? Repaid themselves the $78,000 Angela stole. The rest? A Lakeview condo in a retirement community near me. No mortgage. No lawn to mow. Just peace. They created trust funds for the grandkids. Even for Brianna. She's not her mother, Dad said. She's still family, Mom added. Brianna called me the week before she left for college. She wanted to study social work. To help people like Grandma, she said. To make sure no one else falls for lies wrapped in love. I told her I was proud of her. Then sat on the porch for a long time, letting that pride sink in. Angela never responded to Brianna's letter. She's still in prison. Still insists she did nothing wrong. Still claims it was all my fault. Maybe one day she'll change. Maybe not. That's not my responsibility anymore. Mine was to protect the people who raised me. And I did. And now? Now I run a nonprofit. The Elder Protection Initiative. We help other families spot the warning signs. Investigate the financial footprints. Give scared sons and daughters the tools to fight back. Because what happened to us? It's not rare. It's just hidden. The real inheritance my parents gave me wasn't money. It was values. Strength. Courage when it mattered most. And love, the kind that doesn't flinch from hard things. Not the easy love of birthday cards and polite dinners. The love that confronts. The love that defends. The love that fights back. So yes, Angela hated me. But Mom and Dad? They sleep safely at night. And that's a trade I'll make every time.